I don't know, maybe veteran refs are resentful of all the attention that Caitlin Clark gets. I don't know. That's the way it looked on Saturday.
Did you hear the news? We finally reached the breaking point in the WNBA, and it's more than a bad call or a missed foul this time. It's a full-blown scandal, and it's taken down the highest office in the league.
After the game, Kayla Clark and Sophie are both running up to the referee here. They are both so upset, and the referee is just walking away from them. He won't even look at them in the face. He keeps turning, like Sophie even went up at one point and is like tapping on his arm. He would not even look at them.
The basketball world is on fire after months of one-sided officiating, deafening silence from leadership, and a league seemingly incapable of protecting its biggest star, Kayla Clark. The dam has finally broken, and WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has officially been suspended.
The refereeing, we know it was terrible. We absolutely know the refereeing was shocking. Like, it was one of the worst referee games I've ever seen down the stretch. Like, it looked like it was rigged.
And now, the league is in shambles. Let's back it up, because this isn't just about one game. This is years of dysfunction finally boiling over, with Clark's national fame turning every blown whistle into a headline and every bad call into a 5-alarm controversy. But the tipping point became the infamous game between the Indiana Fever and the New York Liberty, a matchup that didn't just feel biased, it looked rigged.
There's no other way to describe it. It looked like it was rigged. I'm not saying it was rigged. I don't think it was rigged.
Watch some of these plays, guys. Watch some of these plays on Kayla Clark. Look at this. Look at this. See that? Grabbing, physically grabbing her, applying pressure, pushing her. Look at Brittany Griner. Look at this.
Fans saw it, analysts saw it, players saw it, and now the front office had no choice but to act. Because let's be honest, ever since Kayla Clark stepped foot in the WNBA, the refereeing has been controversial to say the least. But this season, it has been nothing but disgraceful, biased, and downright dangerous.
I was like super frustrated watching this game. It was not called the same for both teams. And you know, I haven't been one to call out the refs a lot I hadn't been one to call out the refs a lot last season, but this season it's so apparent that how lopsided the officiating is.
Clark, a once-in-a-generation star who brought millions of fans to the league practically overnight, has been targeted night after night, elbowed, shoved, held, slammed to the floor. AD&D, what have the refs done? Nothing. She's been clotheslined on fast breaks, shoved off screens, and literally hacked across the arm mid-shot with no whistle.
A revolution against Caitlin Clark, a mutiny against Caitlin Clark. So the refs are giving the message. They're clearly afraid to protect Caitlin Clark from the bully tactics and the excessive physicality inflicted on her. Heck, I don't know, maybe veteran refs are resentful of all the attention that Caitlin Clark gets.
The officiating in the WNBA became as hot button of an issue as any. Heated debates surrounding the league's physicality dominated the headlines, particularly when Indiana Fever star rookie Kayla Clark was subject to several intentional fouls.
Meanwhile, her teammates like Lexi Hull are getting called for phantom fouls, while Indiana's opponents, especially high-profile ones like the Liberty, are living at the free throw line.
Lynn Dunn goes on the Dan Dockage show and she calls out the officiating. She calls out the referee. She calls out the WNBA. The lopsidedness that is being shown not in favor of the Indiana Fever. The clear biases when it comes to foul calls. The clear biases when it comes to not calling foul calls.
And fans, they've had enough. Social media exploded after the Liberty game. Rig at WNBA trended for hours. Clips of Clark getting mugged with no call went viral. Everyone from former players to ESPN analysts was asking the same question. What's going on here?
The Indiana Felines have experienced a free throw disparity in every other game. In their 2 games against the Atlanta Dreamers, the Felines combined for 14 fewer free throws. In their game yesterday against the Equality, the Felines attempted 17 fewer free throws. I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't sound like equality to me. Isn't the root word for equality
How is the WNBA allowing its biggest asset to be manhandled like this? The answer apparently was sitting in the commissioner's office. Kathy Engelbert, who once championed herself as a player-first commissioner, had long been under fire for her lack of accountability on the officiating front. For months, coaches and players submitted formal complaints. But what did Engelbert do? She straight up ignored them.
This is what happens when you have a commissioner that is afraid to stand up to their players. Starters, WNBA Commissioner Kat Engelbert.
There's a whole bunch of people that didn't want to give Kayla Clark.
Sources say the WNBA commissioner repeatedly dismissed growing concerns, insisting the league's officiating was within acceptable margins. Acceptable to who, exactly? Because it sure as hell wasn't acceptable to Indiana or to Kayla Clark, who's now visibly bruised and mentally beaten down from weeks of non-calls and deliberate targeting.
What I also gather from this is that the league is basically saying, it can be this physical, let it be this physical. The problem that a lot of us have with the referees is it's either very physical and they're calling everything or they're missing calls. There seems to be inconsistency.
Let that sink in. Not what's fair, not what's safe, not what's legal within the rule book, but what style is currently acceptable. And the referees, they were just following orders. This is where it starts getting beyond sketchy. The orders were coming from none other than the WNBA commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, who was letting Kayla Clark take more beatings than a UFC fighter.
But I will just say the lopsided officiating was absolutely insane. The New York Liberty were at the line 32 times to the Fever's 15, and it was just so obvious. Now, I get calling fouls, I get like not calling fouls, but in this instance, there were similar fouls that were not getting called on the New York Liberty that were going towards the Fever. If you're gonna call every ticky-tacky foul, okay, call it, but call.
Even Fever head coach Stephanie White, known for her measured approach, finally exploded in a post-game press conference, calling the officiating egregious and disrespectful. She said what fans had been thinking. It feels like we're playing 5-on-8 every night. We're not just up against other teams, we're fighting the referees too.
Stephanie White coming right out and saying it, and doubling down by saying, hey, Kathy, this system that you have in place, not too sure that this system works. The system that you have in place, not too sure that it's even worth a grain of salt.
I thought she got fouled. You know, I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. You know, a minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team.
That's correct. The WNBA has been slipping into excessive physicality, an approach that looks suspiciously like, let the stars get assaulted for entertainment. The league has turned into a grittier, rougher product, which would be fine if it were officiated fairly. But that's not the case at all. The physicality isn't consistent. It's targeted, and there's one big target painted in red, Kayla Clark.
And yet, since she's joined the league as a rookie, she's been abused. She's been abused over and over again by these other players. And reportedly, it's a race thing that many black women inside the WNBA are resentful that this white woman came in and is getting all this attention. Nobody disputes that she's an amazing basketball player, but still they seem resentful.
And I hit her, so obviously it's never intentional. That's not even like the type of player that I am. So yeah.
Did you and Marina kind of laugh about it afterwards? It looked like there was later on in the game they caught you guys laughing about it.
No, I just told you I didn't even know I hit her, so I can't laugh about something I didn't know happened. With the increase.
This isn't just about basketball. This is about image, optics, and marketability, the very future of women's sports. Clark is the bridge between casual fans and lifelong WNBA diehards. The player who made 10-year-old girls in Indiana and 60-year-old dads in Iowa sit down and watch the same game. The player who proved that women's basketball could be inspiring television. Now she's sidelined, and the league, it has no one to blame but itself.
The only draw in your league, the only player capable of selling tickets, is potentially out for an extended period of time. What the hell are you gonna do now? Make no mistake about it. This is a disaster of epic proportions. You're about to see a mass exodus in the WNBA. Ratings could be down significantly.
And then came the Liberty game, the final straw. Clark goes up for a clean shot, gets completely bodied with no call. But that's not all. Some minutes later, she makes minimal contact on defense and gets hit with a foul. Meanwhile, the Liberty are gifted free throws for breathing near the paint. It was so egregious that even opposing fans were calling it out. But here comes the plot twist. Multiple users showed Engelbert at last year's finals ceremony wearing Liberty-themed colors, smiling next to their team officials.
WNBA Commissioner Kat Engelbert.
That's when the conspiracy theories took flight. And honestly, they weren't even far-fetched. The optics were awful. The commissioner appearing too cozy with one franchise, and then turning around and refusing to address bias claims when that very team is the main benefactor of lucky officiating. That's not just bad PR anymore. That's a full-blown scandal.
Useless. Like fam, it is crazy how bad the refereeing is. And honestly, look, I know they are human. I know the job is not easy. But fam, you are getting paid to do this. So we need more efficiency, more consistency, more quality on your calls. And then we need more.
What sealed Engelbert's fate wasn't just angry fans or social media mobs, it was the leaked internal reports. According to insiders, these documents show a pattern of ignored complaints from multiple teams, including Indiana, Minnesota, Phoenix, and others, all pointing to the same issue: officiating bias, particularly against Clark.
Not listening to the coaches, they're not listening to the players, they're not listening to the fans, they're listening to their stakeholders. That's why I keep saying nothing is going to change. And I don't know when anything changes until the mindset and whoever's running all of this, the stakeholders, governance, whoever these people are, decide that, hey, the product of basketball on the court will actually be better if we stop leaning on the fact that, oh, the WNBA is just physical, get used to it. There's
even more damning, referees were reportedly advised by leadership to let them play, in code for letting games get overly physical. The goal, supposedly to make the league feel gritty and tough, but instead of balanced physicality, what they got was star-specific targeting. And when it comes to Clark, that let them play directive turned into let her get crushed without consequence.
Not listening to the coaches, they're not listening to the players, they're not listening to the fans, they're listening to their stakeholders. That's why I keep saying nothing is going to change. And I don't know when anything changes until the mindset and whoever's running all of this, the stakeholders, governance, whoever these people are, decide that, hey, the product of basketball on the court will actually be better if we stop leaning on the fact that, oh, the WNBA is just physical, get used to it.
These same reports show that the referees weren't receiving direct feedback from teams or fans, but from a small group of stakeholders, business partners, corporate sponsors, and league executives more focused on image than integrity. In other words, the refs weren't calling the game, they were managing the narrative, and the narrative, it collapsed.
But when you're facing an opponent that good, you also can't be facing the officials. And I think that's the message that Stephanie White wants to get across, and dead now, and she started early, right? So I believe she's speaking for Clark. I believe she's speaking for the rest of her Fever team, and I believe she's also speaking for the fans.
Let's be real, this league isn't going to grow without Kayla Clark. Her impact on the league is unprecedented. She's not just the most watched player in the W, she's the most talked about, the most merch sold, the most tickets moved, the most dollars driven. And when that player is being visibly mistreated and the league's leadership does nothing, it's not just a mistake, it's self-sabotage.
This attendance for the entire league was up nearly 50% last year. According to data from across the timeline, and Indiana led all teams with an average attendance of 17,035. That was up 319% from the year earlier. 319%. 319%. All other teams still grew by double-digit percentages. So let's not forget that. But they didn't grow by 319%. That was Kayla Clark.
Because here's the truth, you only get one Kayla Clark, and if they let this happen again, if they let her get injured, disrespected, or driven out of the league by bad officiating and worse leadership, the fans won't forgive them, the sponsors won't forgive them, and basketball won't either. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments, and we will see you in the next one.